The Innova isn't just a great family car, it is family. Anyone who's owned one knows this. The Innova is that family member everybody turns to when they want someone dependable, comforting, and brave. The HyCross has upgraded the Innova formula dramatically. It is now a limousine in an SUV wrapped in an MPV. Probably the best car in the country today. Think about it. It's the one car that completes every garage, no matter how big it is or how small, and it can do it all by itself. And like with everything we love, we look past its shortcomings. And the HyCross has many. One of which is particularly hard to ignore. Let me remind you that this is an MPV. But do you think of it that way? The kind of love and respect we give the Innova, you think it were an SUV. Now, it's always been big, and this HyCross is bigger still. And it's got proper SUV vibes going on as well. It's got this square face, strong shoulders. Good. But 18-inch wheels that look tiny and a dumpy rear? Not so good. But don't worry about it. Making an entrance with the HyCross is a given, even in a parking lot full of luxury cars. That's the kind of clout it has. The best bit about the HyCross will be your time spent inside the cabin. Because now everything in it is XXL. From the sunroof to the windows to the ultra-wide seats that are super supportive. And now you also get a powered recliner on which you can sleep. That's something you wouldn't get in a car that even costs 1 crore of rupees. And to go along with that, you've got sunshades for privacy and a dedicated air conditioning system to keep you cool. Business class? Hell yeah! The third row also feels the business. It's spacious and airy because of those window panes there. I would now call it the mom-in-law row because my mom-in-law is awesome. Also, with all 3 rows up, you still get a good amount of boot space. So the Innova is a great MPV, but there is a catch. It's not a 7-seater. 3 people in the third row? Are you kidding me? Not possible. Also, at times it's a 5-seater because if you want to sit comfortably here, if you're taller in the second row, you'll have to push back because the battery pack for the strong hybrid sits under the front seats. And that, in some cases, it's a 4-seater. Like if you want to lounge here in the recliner, you'll have to push the front passenger seat all the way forward as well. Also, if you want to catch a nap, yes, ventilated seats are not offered here. So don't bring up the Tata Safari, alright? Also, this doesn't feel a limo, it feels El Cheapo. In some ways, like the tray here for the rear seats and the design for the air conditioning system at the rear, also the dashboard, which just feels industrial. The materials in use feel tough and durable, not lavish. The equipment on offer, like the sound system, is good, not great. The infotainment screen works acceptable, but not super sharp. Neither is the 360-degree camera. And worst of all, the switches on the steering wheel feel flimsy and would have scared some people off. Except this is a Toyota, so you let it pass. Incredibly, this Toyota can pass off as a sedan. It feels car-like to be driven around in. Over speed breakers, you won't bounce around. You won't rock and roll around on bumpier roads. It feels composed, settled. So much so that I could work on my phone in the backseat without any hassle. Sure, the suspension could have been plusher, but keep in mind that the HyCross could be the car that takes your children for their first day of school and for their graduation. And could be the one that takes your grandchildren for their graduation. Tanks don't last that long on Indian roads for sure. But it won't feel tank-like to drive. It is car-like. It's lighter to steer than its weight suggests. It's easier to manage than its size suggests. So it won't lumber around, but it won't dart either. It flows. It just flows. You should go with the flow and not complain about the missing diesel or the manual transmission because the HyCross is meant to be more upmarket and more modern. It has a strong hybrid drivetrain with a 2-liter petrol engine and an electric motor to make the best of every situation. The electric torque works hard, quietly, instantly. To crawl, to cruise, or to haul, it's more effortless than the diesel. In fact, it's so responsive, I drove it in eco mode only, because in the other two modes, it would feel too urgent even with just a couple of passengers on board. I do have one recommendation. Invest in a pair of good noise-cancelling headphones. No, the engine isn't loud, but the cabin does feel noisy. You get a fair amount of road noise inside the cabin, which doesn't quite match the ambience that the HyCross is trying to create. But don't complain about the cost, because you'll be saving a lot on the fuel. This 180 horsepower petrol-sipping giant delivered 13 to 16 kmpl, which is more than the diesel Innova and is as much as some hatchbacks. The incredible part? It's happy in slow city traffic as well. So it's more car-like. Great. But on the flip side, it's less SUV-like. Its tough ladder frame chassis and rear-wheel drive setup is gone. So what happens when you're stuck at Barlachla between a landslide and a snowstorm? I don't know. But if you found out, let us know in the comments. Not knowing what happens won't stop me from getting one of these, because I know it's still got the same amount of ground clearance and that suspension can take a beating. So for rough roading, it's plenty good. Steep inclines, slippery conditions, with the electric torque, it can manage calmly and confidently. So it's still got more SUV in it than any other MPV. And in that vein, its ADAS is more ADAS than any other ADAS, and it proves that not all ADASs are born equal. Basically, it doesn't interfere and it doesn't panic. So I ended up using adaptive cruise control a lot more than I had expected. Well done, Toyota. So it's great for expressways, but what about Chandni Chowk, Crawford Market, and Lakshmi Road? Surely the Innova Hycross does not fit in where the lanes are narrow and the parking is tight. That's exactly when you use the other Innova, the self-driving Innova, available in convenient 8-hour slabs. And don't complain about the cost again, because you know to own and to maintain this will be as effective as some hatchbacks and better than many. Although the case would have been even stronger if the Innova was more accessibly priced. Toyota could have done it by offering the strong hybrid in some lower variants or offering the non-hybrid petrol engine on the higher variants. Although we wouldn't recommend the non-hybrid petrol engine to many because it won't be as fuel efficient as this. My advice, don't skimp when it comes to the Innova. Spend. Because this is the only car in the country that's an investment. After 5 years of usage and a lack of kilometers, you could sell it for the same price that you bought it at. Also, if you've been thinking that we are being scammed with the Innova's prices here in India, take a look at the Innova's prices in some other countries. So finally, let's say it. The best car in the country and its family, and you want one. If you don't, let us know in the comments why you don't respect the Innova and what's wrong with you. As for the HyCross, this HyCross, there is something very wrong with it. It's this: you can't have one.